And we are back for part 3. Different location, white table this time. And there's some little lighting issue. I wish light was a little brighter and there could be some shadows that are a little confusing. But let's just finish this one and note all the improvements that might need to be made. And start out the next drawing with all these improvements. So yeah, I'm warming up a little bit. I'm still a little bit frazzled from the day and just settling in. Sometimes it even feels like I shouldn't jump in right away because it feels like a sudden dip in a cold water, which is, sometimes a good thing to do, but sometimes it's nice to adjust gradually. So yeah, it's January, second half of January, and we're going to have massive snowstorm this weekend. So in some way I'm kind of excited because I like to hibernate and I like to have a good excuse to to be cozy. Because often the ambition pushes us to do things, to be fit, especially in January. The New Year's resolutions are pressuring us to be the better self, and then you wonder how am I going to run if there's 2 feet of snow out there? And the answer is just take a break. Take it easy. The progress doesn't happen overnight. So if you are very ambitious and you push very hard, it could bring you to a little bit earlier burnout. So burnout is a real thing. You can get burned out from just doing too much, being a little too hard on yourself. And lately I've been exploring the idea of gentle push, of creating solid habits that stick, but the habits are built out of very tiny bricks. And it sort of seems like a building made out of small bricks could be more sturdy. So I don't know, sometimes when we create these accountability, create this I'm trying to word it, to hold ourselves that's accountable, that's the word. We create these little traps, like we buy a gym membership, or we go on a trip to a gym that's far away and we already paid, so we might as well just do a lot, and then oftentimes we just end up never wanting to move again because we just do too much. It's sort of another example of sunken cost. You paid, you drove, and you must squeeze the most out of this trip or that membership. So that's why I'm sort of reconsidering. I don't want to preach the gospel of gyms are bad. My ongoing joke about gyms is that Gyms are the places where they make you pay for gravity, which is free everywhere else. But in some way it is true, but in some other way, gyms do help people get motivated or find a social venue to just hang out and compare notes, and also build habits, build a routine. But I've lately been more into moving spontaneously. I don't go out to train or to practice or to exercise because I must, because it's in the calendar. I do try to do it every day, but I don't really set a goal of like, today is the hard day, today is the easy day. Because whenever I did that, I ended up doing more on the easy days, because the easy day created this relaxing mental space where, by reverse psychology, I felt like I don't have that much pressure to push myself more. And then I ended up being more robust and doing more on the easy day. So like right now it's just a day, and I just I'm curious about how I will do, but I don't really push myself one way or another. I'm a little bit more serious about the importance of resting. So yeah, I don't know. I sort of started out with the fitness talk again, but I sort of set out on a mission for the third part to spend some time on corrections, because I have an opportunity to listen to what I was talking about in the previous parts, first and second. And because it's sort of a stream of consciousness exercise, I may sometimes blurt out things that are not very well thought out or edited, and maybe even offensive to some people. But they don't by any means define the train pass. They don't define my worldview as much. Sometimes we just say things that are purely misspoken, or we don't express our thoughts as precisely as we would like, and then sometimes might seem like the meaning of what we say is lost. Like the example of one thing I said in the previous parts was, I kind of made a judgment on American cinematography, calling it shallow, and then I kind of thought about it a little bit more, and I feel like it's just an ongoing stereotype about culture in general. Like American culture is like, Wild West, and positive capitalism, smiley faces, Mickey Mouse, and a lot of action. But a lot of the American cinema and TV was actually, I will not lie, it was inspired by European vibes, like, I don't know, the Scandinavians like Bergman or Polanski or Kieslowski, and those are the really, Polanski, you can kind of call him an American director, even though he is originally from Poland. But there's a lot of European filmmakers that actually left and made it in made it to Hollywood and and made pretty interesting, deep movies. So like there are some movies created in the States that actually are not shallow. Like the memorable ones I can think of is American History X that I saw in early 2000 and really shook me. It was a real movie, a story that was not, I wouldn't say it was shallow, quite the opposite. Let me think if I can think of some other examples. Some American movies that are actually using these European cinema techniques. That it's not just buzz and talking fast and action and violence, ass kicking. But on the other hand, there's also kind of a two-way exchange when it comes to cross-pollinating those genres. So like there's been a trend in Poland at least, or maybe in Europe in general, of sort of imitating the American style, so stereotypical American style of cinema, and you could actually find a few Polish movies that try to imitate the kind of American vibe to the point of like being ridiculous. Like they wanted to be so American that they would even sometimes decide to film it in the States, in New York, most of all, for no good reason. Let's just make it based in New York because we want to be like Americans. There's a lot of mimicry that the Polish culture tries to implement in creating their own stuff, and it's just really sad to see. It's kind of pathetic because those movies are not good. They're just sort of poor imitations of what the director imagines America is like. And like why would you want the actors that are clearly not American have the American mannerisms, sometimes even inserting English words? It's sort of like, I would say, being inspired by European cinema made American movies better, but European directors deriving their inspirations from American cinema, or at least the way it's understood as a stereotype, makes European movies and shows much worse. So that's one of the correction that I would include in this third part of my drawing. Speaking of drawing, I feel like it is turning into sort of a monotonous thing, but I don't want to really assume anything. I kind of thought that it would be kind of cool to make this part brighter, maybe kind of look like some sort of land or landscape. It's kind of like maybe, I don't know, surface. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. The thing about following the kind of randomness and just seeing what emerges is that whatever ends up on the paper looks just like any other random natural pattern that you can see outside, like clouds, tree bark, kind of fractal looking shapes. And that's totally understandable because there isn't that much of my conscious direction pushing this drawing into towards something a lot more specific, because I'm sort of half drawing and half talking, and I'm distracted by talking when I draw, and also the drawing itself influences the way I talk and what I talk about. In some way it liberates me to just sort of talk, whenever I talk, I'm very self-conscious, and I'm so preoccupied with the idea that I'm speaking that I can't form words, and I forget what I was going to say. And so it takes me a long time to actually form a sentence, because I'm always very thorough. I don't want to just blurt out something irrelevant or stupid, and I'm really careful with my words, with what I'm, and even then sometimes I say something that sounds a little off, and or even offensive without meaning to. So I think I mentioned in some of the other parts that I'm trying not to trust the words as much as actions, because very often our words diverge from our emotions, our actions, our feelings. So words are really poor substitute for expressing yourself. That's why we have other ways of expressing ourselves. We can express ourselves with silence, which is very powerful. We can express ourselves with images, with what else can we express ourselves with? Music. That's very kind of visceral way of expressing yourself. You don't need words. So words are just one component of expressing what we have hidden inside us, and sometimes they just distort our intentions. The words can distort our intentions. And then we have to go on social media and apologize for something we didn't mean to say, or spend some time on corrections if we are running a media platform. So words are tricky, and we put a lot of weight on words, and we condemn each other, or stigmatize each other for what we say rather than what we do. So there's what else I was meaning to talk about here. There's one kind of another paradox, because I've been kind of focusing on this very strange paradoxes and funny elements of our reality that we can't unsee. And I've been thinking about the way the algorithm is set up for social media, YouTube, Instagram, especially where we are using thumbnails. We create thumbnails and titles like in YouTube. So the thumbnail for this video is just simple pencil and just the title that says what it is, which is talking and drawing. It's not very clickbaity. So what gets me in the way algorithm works is another catch-22, which is that the algorithm is rewarding manipulative behavior. So there are certain ways in which you can grab someone's attention by creating a very specific type of thumbnail and a title that sort of, plays on your emotions like strings, and usually there has to be some element of drama, I would say, maybe for this video, my thumbnail for getting a lot more attention would be, I was almost done with my drawing, but my pencil just caught on fire. I'm like, oh, that's, people really like wonder like what's that about? Let's click on it. That's really dramatic. Like, the algorithm will reward me for being a manipulative jerk because I will get more views and more clicks if I create a manipulative thumbnail. Whereas if I'm being a decent person and I don't resort to the manipulative tactics of grabbing people's attention, then I will be punished for it. So it's sort of backwards. I kind of resent that, actually. Because like people who click on that manipulative thumbnail, they give me likes, they comment, and they really enjoy it, but they don't know that I manipulated them into entering my page. So like, they should hate me for it, except I'm rewarded by getting a lot larger audience because I resorted to just being manipulative. Maybe someone can explain it to me or try to make me feel better about this whole situation. I'm just going to change my glasses because these glasses are a little bit too magnifying, this kind of glasses. Oh, that's much better. Or is it the same? It's kind of the same. Oh well. Let's keep going. So the drawing kind of draws to a close, and I'm kind of almost trying to program my moves towards contrast, towards making it look like something more interesting than it's already been done here. So maybe I will gently push it towards having the bottom part brighter. And the general idea for the technique of these sketches is to not use any eraser, try not to smudge it, and make sure that every line is a pure crisp line, or at least a value on the paper, which is like a gray fuzz that I can do by just very gently rubbing the pencil against the paper until I see a uniform gradient, which is sort of tricky. There are these bumps in the paper, like this one here, that already made the kind of a darker spot here, and I have to kind of blend it, and I really can't avoid it. It's a kind of a soft number 2 pencil, nothing fancy, but I'm kind of taking advantage of the slight texture of the paper, and I'm letting the values in the drawing be fuzzy and kind of gradual. When I try to blend the kind of dark gray to light, I'm trying to go very gently. I barely touch the paper at this point, just so the transition is very soft, and it also creates this illusion of like slight fogginess and diffused light. It almost makes it look like we're looking at an underwater view, some kind of aquascape, seascape. But yeah, gets kind of more tricky when I lighten my pressure here. It's very hard to avoid the sort of I call it hay, or like wiry kind of lines. But yeah, we'll see where it will take us. Almost the end of the drawing, and we still don't know what's going to happen here. And of course, as we can go back and correct what we said, the same way we can go back to the earlier sections and maybe try to make something emerge more specifically. There's still a face here, but I don't want to make it look sort of obvious. Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm going to do something with this bottom part being lighter. Take a sip of tea. It seems that the more I'm focused on getting the drawing right, the less I'm able to speak. That's kind of a predictable occurrence. It's quite normal. So it does kind of start to look almost like a cloud shape here, or a tree bark. What if it will look like nothing? What if everything I said was just gibberish? Why would we worry about that in the grand scheme of things? It's just one of the millions of YouTube videos. And the trap I set for myself was that I've been uploading the parts of this series, of this drawing, this particular drawing, as I was going along with it. So I uploaded part 1 and part 2, and obviously the progression is to create part 3. So now I'm kind of almost feel like I'm pressured into making this. Maybe that's why things I say and the way I draw I'm feeling a little forced, to be honest. But this is a sort of mind experiment, and I wanted to see what will it do to my brain, or how it will affect my drawing, how it will affect my thinking process and talking. And then I will take notes, and then I will know what to do in the next project. What worked, what didn't work. So there's always some sort of editing and problem solving involved. So I wouldn't advocate for a totally kind of mindless meditation while drawing, where I'm like just going with it. At a certain point, there will be, because we are pattern-seeking animals, we will draw conclusions, we will see issues, and we will try to solve them. Like simple things like next time I'm going to use a microphone and better lighting. Or even in terms of drawing itself, maybe next time I will actually push towards a more specific theme. Maybe I'll, direct my hand towards drawing a person. Let's draw a person, and then I will know that I will seek a pattern within these random shapes that most resembles a human being, or an animal, or a landscape. So like, I'm not really against pattern seeking and pushing a little bit towards certain results. But in this case, I really wanted to forget about what I've learned, what I can do, and what it should look like, how it compares with other social media art. I wouldn't even call it art. It's just rubbing graphite against paper. Putting a label on it just creates a burden of having to prove something. So like, there's always this question asked when people see some slightly less orthodox expression. But is it art? That's not art. But does it have to be? If it's interesting, it doesn't matter that it's not art. A lot of artists that are accused of making stuff that's not art don't even attempt to be called artists. So sometimes they say like, I don't want to be called an artist, and what I do, I don't want it to be called art because that label limits what I can do. And if you do a creative thing, do you always have to make sure that it looks like art? What looks like art? Does it have to be framed? Does it have to be a painting or a sculpture? Does it have to be realistic? For most people, art has to be hyper-realistic or at least impressionistic, but still the illusion of reality should be a big part of the artwork. And I do understand it because I used to strive for it when I was younger. I've never really gone through the phase that other kids go through, which is like, drawing these very nice, colorful figures with big heads and small bodies. And like the children art, the child art is probably one of the most expressive and envy-inducing creations, because there's no inhibition, no learned tricks. Everything is fresh. But I kind of like, even as a kid, I was really striving for photographic realism, and I kind of skipped that part when I was just take crayons and draw a rainbow with. I was trying to do drawings and paintings that are as realistic as possible, but of course I didn't have the skills, so they fell short every time, and I was frustrated. And then I just perfected the skill of, creating depictions of things that are as realistic as possible. And it's, you can create hyper-realistic drawing or a copy of a photograph, which is fun, but then I realized that it doesn't really bring anything. It doesn't move people. It moves people in the way that they just marvel on how skillful you are, but beyond that, there's really nothing behind it. Oh, I just made a hyper-realistic drawing of a glass of water. So what? context also matters, because hyper-realistic drawing of a glass of water would be a very powerful statement if you hang it in a place where, for example, people don't have running water, or there's a problem with water, or there's some kind of issue, water-related issue, and then that could be like very powerful statement. Just hang a glass of water, maybe. Like I would hang the hyper-realistic painting of glass of water on the wall somewhere in the what's that planet called in Dune? the desert planet, where people were recycling each other to get water out of each other's bodies. It's like that kind of thing. So the context really is important. Right, I'm not sure if I like this kind of edge. It looks kind of like an edge of a biscuit. Those kind of butter biscuits. I might disrupt it a little bit, and I made a judgment, and I'm kind of at this stage where I'm kind of letting myself to edit it and judge it, because I'm a mind. I have a choice. I'm not mindlessly following the random accidents of the paper and graphite. I can make decisions, but I'm still sort of semi-conscious with my drawing, because I'm also talking. So it's kind of like a journey. I call it a sober trip. It's really calming for me, and hopefully for whoever watches the video. And there's this constant play of focus between the drawing and the talking, and as the themes are kind of emerging in my mind to talk about, I lose the focus in my drawing, and then when I start obsessing more about the drawing, then I start to lose focus on talking, and I just sort of drawing, and I don't know what to talk about next, and I don't really feel nervous about it. I don't have stage fright, which is I really recommend this exercise. Even if you don't upload it anywhere, just record yourself. And it's also going to be very surprising when you play it back. I played back these previous parts. I listened to them again once, and then I realized that there's some ways in which I expressed myself or said something that could have been said better, or maybe I wasn't expressing it precisely enough. Some kind of sometimes when you have an argument with someone, they tell you, do you even hear yourself speak? Which is almost like literally the way this experiment works is just letting you hear yourself speak, and you kind of, I feel like I'm stepping outside of myself, and especially when I replay it again, if only to just check if everything recorded correctly, I'm kind of gobsmacked at what was I forget what I was talking about, and then I'm kind of surprised at the thoughts that were sort of slumbering in my mind until I woke them up. Like I never thought I would be having this sort of opinion about this sort of issue until it sort of made itself known. But yeah, I kind of feel like I may have run out of things to talk about. But that's the good thing about this experiment, is that if I run out of issues to talk about, I can just tell you about my technique, my approach to art, my approach to this drawing itself. I'm letting some of the white of the paper shine through more here in the bottom, so like I'm kind of creating almost a separate plane where I'm going to darken this background here to make the foreground seem even more pronounced, to make it seem more like an eerie landscape. Could be like a cliff or waterfall or something. When in doubt, just tell people that you just drew a landscape. And no matter what, even if you are deliberately drawing or painting an abstract and you don't want any associations, people will look at your art and they will say, oh, I see a camel, I see an elephant, I see myself. And very often people see themselves in your art too, kind of literally and sometimes figuratively, because they view the art through the lens of their own experience. It's almost like looking into a mirror, and it's almost always fascinating to hear the feedback that the viewers give me, and they're always different. The things that people say about my pieces is always different, always filtered through their own experiences and their own personality, sensibility. So it's always very enriching to hear the feedback, to even see the reactions. Like you don't need words to see how your art made someone feel. You see the face, you see the expression, and see that little aha or like little laughter. Always it's very rewarding, and like it always reminds me why I started making art in the first place, for that little reaction from that single person that's just having a little meeting of souls with my art. It's sort of like I'm communicating with them through my creations. And the cool thing about art is that it will be extending duration-wise beyond my biological life. And I always get goosebumps when I look at ancient art, some ancient sculpture or ancient ceramics, and I almost can sense the presence of the artist from 5,000 years ago. I can see their fingerprint or marks that they left, slight shakiness in their gesture. And I'm like, wow, that's someone's record of someone's existence from thousands of years ago. So like, aside from just admiring the craftsmanship or the art itself, there's this aspect of the bridge, the time bridge between you and an ancient artist from the past. So like, hopefully this kind of will, I mean, not this drawing, because this drawing won't last thousands of years. I don't think our human race will survive that long. Sort of seems like we are on our last leg, civilization-wise. But this, even if this drawing survives 20 years after I'm gone, and it will kind of make someone reflect on my presence, my existence, and my gestures. It will be cool. It's a record. It's something like, in the grand scheme of things, there's almost no difference between very archival kind of art. Archival meaning the art that can survive for a longer period of time, or can survive elements like UV light, moisture, like, there's a difference between marble or bronze sculpture and a crayon drawing made on a napkin. But in the grand scheme of things, when you think about time as a whole, there's really no difference between the crayon on napkin and a bronze sculpture. They both will be turned to dust within a period of time that they can exist within. So it's kind of interesting. It kind of makes me feel a little bit better about just creating stuff that's ephemeral and temporary. Because it's the kind of priority for people who put a lot of value in art that's monetary, like gallerists, collectors. They want their art to be durable, and they spend a lot of money on renovating art, restoring it. But for an artist, for me, sorry, that's not my problem. I just want to focus on my process, and this is it. I'm just making a drawing, or it doesn't even feel like making a drawing. It just feels like an act. I'm just rubbing graphite against paper. So with certain a little bit more in-depth meditative state, I just forget. I forget that it's a pencil and that it's a paper and that I'm talking. And that's when I think this video starts to make more sense, because it's the kind of moment when I forget that I'm drawing, that I forget that I'm recording myself, I forget that I'm talking. I'm just thinking aloud, and it just starts to feel a lot more natural, less forced. So yeah, I see. This is the bottom line here. We can sort of make this foreground a little bit brighter, and maybe go back to edit some of the earlier shapes and see what can emerge. It's kind of fascinating that we still don't know. I mean, at this time of the video, I still don't know what will happen. Of course, you can just skip ahead and go to the very end and see what came up. But that's the thing about time. It's the invention of recording is kind of a fascinating thing that we take for granted, but it almost resembles time travel. So this recording this moment will turn into a capsule, time capsule. I'm going to put it on the page, and it's going to stay there. And I don't know the ending yet, but you can just skip ahead. I can't. That's the problem with time. We can't go ahead. It's I'm still pretty obsessed with this German TV show about time travel, Dark. That's oddly similar to Stranger Things, except it's much deeper and it's about something other than monsters and Dungeons and Dragons. It's about time travel, and there are some paradoxes that are just... My brain is just twisted in all sorts of way, thinking about those paradoxes of going back in time and, becoming your own father. This is all the kind of possibilities that time travel offers are just pretty disturbing and amazing at the same time. So that kind of... This part here looks a little bit like popcorn. So if you are eating popcorn right now, that actually makes sense. I'm drawing your popcorn as you're eating it. So yeah, it's just a really well-written show, and the success of this show lies in how the writers were thinking ahead about what they want the story to be, what's the arc, what elements to include that pay off later, so there are no loose ends and blind spots, and everything just was interlocking so perfectly, and everything came together in this nice closed system of a story, which is not something we can say about many other shows, especially like it's mentioned before, Stranger Things, where the creators went into season 5 without even having the script ready or finished. That's just lazy. I just don't understand how much slacking is allowed in this industry. Yeah, it's different here because I didn't have script for this at all. The idea of it was just that, and it actually could be quite interesting to create a TV show where you just write it as you go along, but I wouldn't count on it being cohesive, because there will always be some sort of loose ends, maybe a plot line that starts and never ends. So in Dark, I will not spoil it, but there's quite a lot of importance emphasized on the number 3, and so the show has 3 seasons and just ends it just wraps up really neatly. And it's tempting to, when your show is popular, to do a remake, to do one more season because it went so well, there's so much cash we got from it. But no, it's actually like, what would you do? Like, do we all have enough integrity to say no, like, this is enough, the story wrapped up, and if I wrote more of it, it would be just funny? Do we have what it takes? I always wondered, like I feel like even if my YouTube videos became monetizable and advertisers would contact me, I would say no. Like, at this point, I feel like I would say no to advertisements, because my experience as a viewer is that advertisements just ruin my experience. It's just horrible to watch something relaxing or something interesting and then suddenly have a very loud commercial coming at you, and it's very rude almost. It's kind of like someone sticking their finger in your soup. So I hate it so much that I know what it's like, and if I had any opportunity to make money on advertisements, or maybe insert a product, make a video with product placement of a product that I never use, that's crappy, and then people buy it and get frustrated with me and with the product. I just don't want that. But do I have enough integrity to say no? Because if there's a nice chunk of cash in it, I might give in. It's like, so I will never say never. I will not promise that I will always be ad free. But for now, I feel like advertisements are just they suck, and I know that in capitalism, products have to be moved. The purchase has to be made in order to keep this whole racket going. Otherwise, it collapses, and then we are in trouble. It's sort of a system that ruins everything on one hand, but on the other hand, it keeps everything going. It's kind of another one of those paradoxes. And then the only thing we can improve is the way we do business. Are we conscious? Are we harming anyone? Are we harming the environment? What can we do to minimize the impact? But yeah, most of the time, sadly, the greed wins. Just end up. I can turn from a YouTuber who says no to advertisements to the one that advertises everything that comes along, no matter what, and interrupts a relaxing video with loud commercials, and then losing audience. That's another thing. Like, you can actually lose audience if your videos are full of obnoxious ads. All right, we are really nearing the corner here, and I'm almost getting giddy and too excited. But one of the best types of exercise for patience is to not rush it when you're almost at the end. It's very hard not to, because you're excited. Oh, it's almost over. But like, why are we excited when something is almost over? Like, but then it's kind of enjoyable. So like, I want to draw it to a close just because it even rhymes. But like, why? What will I do next? That's the thing. Like, we always think about what's next. The next moment will be much better than this one. There's always something exciting. Like the whole idea of selling things and like perpetuating the interest in people is to always make them believe that there's something exciting waiting for them around the corner. Just one more minute, and what happens next will shock you. That headline. I'm not sure if it's still a thing, but like, whenever you see kind of a tabloid or like some kind of clickbait thumbnail, it says what happens next will amaze you, and then you click, and that's the manipulative thing to do. So I will, maybe as a joke, I can make a thumbnail and a title that says, an artist picked up a pencil, but what happened next will amaze you. Will it amaze you? Maybe. Maybe something will still happen. Maybe something super exciting after these 3 hours of drawing and talking. If you have made it so far, finally, maybe something really amazing and interesting will happen. There's still a chance as I draw this to a close. So that's kind of a difficult decision here I have to make about this last part. Like, do I leave this bright spot here, or does it want it to be more like maybe like this. Yeah. All right, so we have like a little foreground, which I'm actually glad I decided to do it, because it actually made the drawing a little bit more deep, three-dimensional. The illusion, at least, is there. So now as I'm closing it in here in the corner, I may decide to go back in here, maybe increase the contrast, which is kind of a really fun. Maybe that's the amazing thing that will happen next, because I kind of really like to reflect on it, go back, and just fill in all these spots where maybe more contrast can bring things forward more. Because I still didn't take full advantage of the darkest value that this pencil can master. So like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I'm going to look at it from the distance. Yeah, it looks like some kind of strange canyon view. But it can be like, I don't know, there's this face here still. Not quite a fan of this one anymore. I might just make it blend it a little bit. And maybe there'll be a chance for me to reflect on what I said, and still time to correct some of the things, maybe apologize before I get cancelled. But yeah, I'm not going to apologize because I just, it's just what's in my mind. Why would I apologize for things that are part of me, that are in my mind, that there are opinions and sort of hunches and feelings that I developed over the years, and there's I can't separate them from myself. I can't pretend that I feel differently about things. So like, people will maybe try to label define who I am based on what I said, but why? And there are always these very simple dualistic labels for everything. You're either this or that. Like in Poland, it's like you're either a Catholic or a communist, or so like, why? Like, why can't there be more nuanced approach to everything? So that's kind of a danger of polarization that we are going through right now. Like, if you're not this, then you are this. If you're against this certain thing, then you must be a liberal. If you're against this, then you must be conservative. Like, why not both? I can be liberal and conservative within certain areas, or I might not be. I might be undecided. So like, the freedom of speech is, to me, it's sort of like an extension of freedom of thought, because your speech, the origin of your speech is in your thoughts. So why would you limit your speech when you're speaking your mind? Why would you want to let people ban your mind and contents of your mind? I'm open to being corrected if I spew a fallacy, if I say the earth is flat, I will probably not say it, but like, if I was wrong about something and someone pointed out that I'm wrong about it, I would look at the evidence and I would say, oh yeah, that's right, no big deal. I can change my mind. So that's how you can tell that you are sort of in a somewhat healthy mindset, when you can change your mind based on the new and better evidence that's presented to you. And there's really nothing shameful about changing your mind about things for good reasons. And the words, the words are a reflection of the mind, but also the mind came up with certain ideas and things that not always are accurate. There are always illusions and smokes and mirrors, and it's up to us to help people to correct their misguided views without judgment, without hurting their ego. It's sort of like, telling someone that they have a dry leaf on their back or on their hat. You can decide to just let them, be and not help them. There's a lot of things that we don't tell each other, and because of ego, and we don't want to hurt people. It's like, someone wouldn't tell me that I have this nervous tick and it makes people uneasy, and that's why I don't have any friends, or or there's very, very easy to a thing that's very easy to ameliorate, to someone will tell you that oh, you have a BO, that's why you don't have any friends. That's kind of brutal and direct and honest. But if that's the reason that people avoided you for all these years, then if you fix it, then you are a happy person. Use a deodorant, for Christ's sake. That's the my European experience talking here. It's not that we don't use deodorants in Europe. It's just kind of maybe using the wrong kind of deodorants. I've been in the US for half my life now. 25 years, 26 almost. And I came here when I was 26, so yeah, half my life. So it's been kind of a ride to see how this country transforms within few decades, 2 decades, how it transformed. And since 2001, when I came here, I've never been bored. There's always something weird going on here. So like when I arrived first in 2021, of course, I arrived just 2 weeks before 9/11. So that was interesting because I just woke up one morning and turned on the TV, and I thought it was just some kind of Hollywood movie. But no, it was reality. And then since then, everything was kind of different. Like, I kind of got a taste of what this country was like before 9/11, and it was a totally different place. It was a little bit more like, you would still say that Americans are laid back and easygoing, but after 9/11, it started to feel like Americans are really uptight and just they can't let it go, and they're just really up in arms, and it just the kind of a weird, like cult-like almost devotion to patriotism for its own sake. Like, why would you worship patriotism? Patriotism is not something you worship. It's it's just something that you express when you're attached to your place, to your country, to your neighborhood, to your family, and you would defend it. You would defend your community with all your life. That's patriotism. Patriotism is not really about fireworks, red meat, and waving flags. It's a wrong idea, in my opinion. In my opinion, should be a kind of addition to every sentence we say, so that people remember that everything we say is just based on our own views, our own opinions. Sometimes we can actually spew facts, just dry data, and that's fine too. 80% of US population lives in the urban areas. That's a fact. And you can check it, you can look it up. Or you can, if you still don't believe the Google, then you can make your own counting. It will take you a while, but you can count people. But yeah, I think the kind of the post 9/11 fever, I would call it, it lasted for the next 2 decades, and I feel like it is about to break, because there's really not that much longer that we can continue like that. So I'm kind of hoping that this easygoing 90s vibes come back, even though I think a lot of it is also nostalgia. We think about the period of time when we were in our prime, when we looked our best, when our life was fun, and then we look back and some parts of it were not as fun, and there's a lot of stuff you couldn't figure out. It was confusing and scary, and that because hindsight will always make you feel like the past is just relaxing and amazing, because you already know what happened. But being in the present moment is a little bit tricky, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And in 10 years I will look back at today and I will say, oh, that was a great time. It was safe, nothing happened. But now I know nothing happened. But today I have a lot of fears about what might happen next with the current world situation. I know that what will happen next will amaze me, because it's going to be a giant blizzard. A lot of people in the south will be in trouble because they don't have infrastructure to deal with the sudden winter attack. And it's been some years now that Texas had to declare emergency, and other states that are not used to the cold. I even heard that some of the people who keep aquariums had their water freeze and fish just froze to death, which is just horrible. I keep fish, so it's they're like my babies. So it's actually have another channel that is devoted to fish keeping, which is also called Advanced Beginner, but I added the word aqua to it, so you can look for it if you would like to check it out. But yeah, I think that drawing is maturing here, and I feel like it's almost ready to be stopped. I'm not going to sign it because I don't really feel like like I have an authorship over this drawing. It's sort of ego-free art, because it was an experiment. It was a process. Like it's sort of like, why would I sign my name? I know that some people like to put their names on everything, but why would I sign my name on a walk I just took in the woods? That's what it felt like. It felt like I just took a walk, and it's not really mine. I don't really feel like I created it. It just sort of feels like it's something that happened. It's something that let me discover itself. It's almost like archaeology, where I'm digging and digging and digging, and something finally emerges. So just sort of final cosmetic work, maybe increasing contrast here and there. There is some kind of interesting illusion of space starting to show up. So I don't know, I might finish here, end it here, and then maybe at some point I'm going to keep torturing this drawing and then show you the final result. I might put this on my website. If I do, I will put my website link in the description under the video. In my online store for sale, and I'm going to sell it. If someone wants to buy it, the money will be spent wisely, supporting a cause of some kind. So you can actually suggest what kind of cause you would like to support. I have a few ideas, few suggestions. I lately am more inclined to support environmental restoration causes, because I feel like politics is so temporary and it just changes. There's a lot of, the presidents come and go, but if we don't take care of the natural world, we will be in a pickle. And it's sort of the ultimate threat. The environmental obliteration is the ultimate enemy, sort of like the White Walkers in Game of Thrones. Like there were all these games played, the politics and a lot of talking and threatening and fighting. And then the real threat was this silent killer from the north, which was basically, I feel like it was a metaphor for sort of element that can put a stop to all these silly arguments. So, all right. So this is my little aquascape. I took my glasses off, and I will leave it at this for now. I think that's it. Thank you for taking this journey with me, and I don't apologize for what I said, and I will also not apologize for the way this drawing turned out. I'm pretty pleased with it. It actually does look slightly interesting with this nice depth illusion here and fuzziness and light illusion. There's even a face here. And yeah, let's take it from there and see what we can do the next time.